We are what? We are who? We are what? Vibrant. We are who? 50 plus. Hi, welcome to Gray Lives on the Rise. I am your host, Professor Jamila Franklin, and we are coming to you from Oyende Enterprises, being sponsored by Jamila Sense, which is our product line of aromatherapy products that helps heal the mind, body, and soul. And we are bringing to you Alamaj's rebirthing program, as well as Jamila Sense and a host of wonderful programs that will help heal your body, heal your soul, and heal your mind. 50 plus people, we are here to stay. Gray Lives on the Rise. We are what? We are who? We are vibrant, and we are here to stay. Join us for our wonderful episodes. Thank you, and continue to look for our episodes weekly, being brought to you again from Oyende Enterprises and Jamila Sense. See you soon. Greetings, everyone. Welcome again to Gray Lives on the Rise. And we have the wonderful, wonderful, beautiful Ife Senechi. We've been practicing her name. She is our guest for today, and she's amazing. Introduce to you the lovely Nana.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to give you some information about her background. Nana, her name celebrates her ancestry of the Igbo and Akan people by way of the Caribbean passage. So it's Ife Senechi. I was practicing this beforehand, and I was trying not to mess it up. So it's Ife Senechi Nana. It's called Nana or Senechi. Her name celebrates her ancestry of the Igbo and Akan people by way of the Caribbean passage, like I just mentioned. She's completing the process of licensing as a New Thought Minister of Religious Science. The spiritual path has led to her growth, development, and embodiment as a metaphysician, a sacred activist, and a catalyst of transformation and transcendence. For the past 11 years, she has served as a spiritual practitioner in the metro area, having resided in Georgia for 42 years. Conscious choosing is a lifelong goal, and accountability on all levels is a priority as she continues to live and embody the principles of religious science. And she says she's open at the top, and she's excited to see what is the next possibility for her expansion. And without further ado, thank you, Queen Nana.
Thank you so much for having me, Jamila.
Oh, I'm so excited about this. We had our little mini talk. And like I tell people, I deliberately don't send questions to my guest speakers, and I deliberately don't ask them everything because I desire to be excited.
It is exciting.
Yeah, I decided to be excited and to, say, wow, you do that, and with curiosity. So when you see me getting all excited, it's because it's the first time that I've learned this about people too. So I like to keep it fresh. So Nana, your background is so very interesting. Let's go back to your original, your heritage, because you're from the Caribbean. And so what led you from that wonderful journey over to the States and then to Cornell and then to wherever you may have lived and now to Georgia, having lived in Georgia for 42 years?
That part gets me because I didn't realize I was here that long.
Yeah.
And so I was born on St. Croix in the Virgin Islands. My family, like a lot of Caribbean people, come from other islands. So my father came from my father's grandfather came from Barbados, and he was a stowaway on a ship and he was running from childhood trauma. And he, we all have it in some form. And he was facing colorism.
Oh.
Yes. And so his father was very dark complexion, and he was like his father. His mother was a lighter brown skinned woman, and all the other children were like her. And he was not even being sent to school. His father really had a problem. He looks like his father. His father had a problem with him. But he jumped on a ship and he left the donkey on the side of the road because he was working while everybody else was in school. And so because he had that, he instilled a big thrust on religion and education in my dad. My dad was his little person that followed him everywhere. And my dad was one of 15 children.
Oh, wow.
Now, families were very large in those days. We didn't have TV and we didn't have electricity, okay? So
Yeah.
the families were large. And I am actually one of 20 children between my mother and my father. And my mother,
You said 20?
20, 20. I told you families were large.
Yeah.
Okay, and my mother, my grandmother, my maternal grandmother only had one child, my mother.
Mm.
And she was pitied and she was teased. And my mother spoke about being teased and bullied. And we were like, what did they say to you? And she said that they would say things like, go home and be alone. And we're like,
Mm.
we were like, Mom, you wouldn't have made it today. But
Yeah.
it was the whole notion of the importance of community and family. She
Yeah.
didn't have a sibling.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
we were like, well, you could have stopped at 5 and you would have had children, but my mother she had 11 of the children. So I grew up.
Your mom, okay, let me just go back. Your mom herself had 11?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
She
Okay.
made up for, remember, she was carrying it for my grandmother and for herself. So I was born on St. Croix. I grew up in Puerto Rico. So we are also a bilingual family. And I have
Mm.
siblings who are in Puerto Rico and they're not English speaking people. They're Spanish speaking people. So I grew
Mm.
up speaking Spanish. When I started school, I started in Puerto Rico. And
Okay.
then in my early teen years, I moved back to St. Croix. And
Mm-hmm.
it was very different. People say, oh, it's all the Caribbean, but there are differences. And
Yeah.
I got out of high school, and that's when I came to the United States. So I turned 18 during the school year, at the beginning of the
Mm.
school year. I was 17 coming out of high school, coming to the United States. I saw myself at Cornell from a time I was in the 10th grade. I visioned it.
Oh.
Yes. Someone who was one of my father's co-workers. He asked me if I'd ever considered going to Cornell. He asked me, were you going to go to college? And I said yes. I didn't know where, but I said yes. And he told me about Cornell.
Oh.
That was, and so in those days, I had to write off to Cornell to get a bulletin. There was no internet. There wasn't any of that. So they sent me the bulletin and I poured over that book like it was the Bible. I saw myself in those classrooms. I saw myself walking across the art squad. I saw
Mm.
myself just there. Little did I realize that that was the beginning of a spiritual discipline that I am now in. I mean,
Yeah.
there are no accidents, there are no coincidences, there's nothing random. We may
Yeah.
not necessarily know what to do with it at that time,
Yeah.
but it is a seed that is being planted, and the seeds come, especially good seeds bear good fruit.
Yeah.
And I have had seeds planted in me by all kinds of good people
Mm-hmm.
because I did not get raised with my mother. I was raised by my father. My mother was
Mm.
absent. But there were women who, especially because I was raised in a time when I was being raised in the village, there were
Mm.
there were older women, mature women who would just counsel me, give me encouragement, speak prosperity into my life,
Mm-hmm.
and they saw things in me that I had no clue whatsoever existed. So I end up going to Cornell.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's interesting because I have a very large family, as you probably probably gathered. I have a very large family, and I have components of my family that live in places in the United States. Even though I myself, was not born here or raised here, I have family in different places. And so when I got to Cornell, there was someone on the admissions committee who saw my name and saw that I was from St. Croix, and her family was from St. Croix, but she had been raised in New York. And she said, when I got to Cornell, she came, she looked for me, and she said, I'm so happy you chose us because when I saw you, I chose you. And I said, I pray that her grades are great so that she can come here. And so I ended up having, even though I was 17 and I thought I was fully grown, we tend to think, so one day you go, oh
Yeah.
my goodness, I don't know anything. And that's really when you start growing up. But
Yeah.
she looked out for me, and there was someone with maturity and stability that I could really turn to and get
Mm-hmm.
counsel. And I really, really appreciated that. But I also recognize that that is the way that our Creator works.
Yeah.
Resources follow commitment.
Yeah.
You never get half of this of what you need. You're gonna get that and even more. And
Yeah.
so that really is how my life began to unfold. Now, I went to Africa, the Africana Studies Center. They had an annual, and I was on the first trip,
Mm.
and I fell in love. Now, in my upbringing, my father had always told us that we were Africans, that we had made mathematics, that we had created medicine, and all of those things. And I remember saying to him, well, they don't say that to us in school. And he said,
Yeah.
they won't. They don't want you to know. And on
Yeah.
top of which, I went to private school, and it was a private school where people did not look like me. And the people on the island looked like me, but at that school, they did not. And that
Mm.
was by intention.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a brouhaha that took place, and the people said, you can go back to the United States and do that, because that's your land up there. But if you're going to be here, we all going to live together. We all going to participate together. And
Mm-hmm.
so one of the things that culture in particular does, it will look for things that you don't know about. So we had a culturally biased test that was given.
Mm-hmm.
And, cultural bias can be very, very subtle. For instance, I've had a rough time with Santa Claus because what I learned about Santa Claus, first of all, he came during the winter. We don't have a winter. We have two
Yeah.
seasons, dry and wet.
Mm.
He comes in the winter, he goes on your rooftop, and he comes down the chimney. Our homes don't have chimneys. So, so I just figured Santa Claus wasn't coming to my house, and
Yeah.
I was okay with it. So I it turned out that the children who were the local from the local families, if they had parents who had been abroad, left the island for any reason, those children tended to do better on the test
Oh,
because the
okay.
parents had a bigger worldview, you know. St. Croix was 6 miles at the widest and 25 miles long.
Mm.
Ocean on both sides. You turn left, right, there's the ocean. And so I want to just give you give a context here. So when I came to New York, my great aunt lived in New York. She had lived in New York for years and years and years in Manhattan. And she asked me where was I going? And I said, I'm going to a place named Ithaca. And she had never heard of Ithaca. And I said, it was just outside New York City. because where I came from, everything was just outside
I
and
know, I
there.
know.
Okay, so I couldn't imagine driving on a bus, riding on a bus for 5 hours. It's 5 hours. And
Yeah,
I kept going to the bus driver because I was afraid after a while. I mean, it's like we're driving and we're driving. I'm tired. I might fall asleep and miss my. And finally, he said to me, "Sit here behind me. I will tell you when we get to Ithaca." And that was how, I made it there. And 5 hours, you can't drive 5 hours on St. Croix, but it took us 45 minutes to go from one end of the island to the beach, which was on the other end. And I guess we just drove more slowly and the roads weren't as good. But
yeah.
I went to Africa because I had those seeds planted in my dad.
Mm-hmm.
They were planted in me by my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And it was life-changing, life-changing to say the least.
Mm.
We spent the whole summer gone. We went to innumerable, innumerable countries. I mean, so I got in that one trip, and I've made other trips since then, but I
Mm.
knew from that first trip, I came away, I am a child of the universe, and I belong anywhere on this planet.
Mm. So
And
what country did you go to? Yeah.
okay, so we started in Senegal.
Mm-hmm.
We made a stop in Cote d'Ivoire, which is the Ivory Coast. Interestingly, this was the time when the Biafran War was
Oh
was
yeah.
ending. So we went to Nigeria, but we could not stay. They basically were keeping everybody from the outside, keeping them out as they
Mm-hmm.
were just trying to pull themselves together. And so I've been to Ghana, to Kenya, to Tanzania, Zambia, Ethiopia, Egypt, and now that you mentioned that I'm working on my licensing, I'm moving to Botswana. Spiritually, I have been called to Botswana. I've never been to Botswana.
Mm-hmm.
However, I had, like at the Africana Center, we had professors from South Africa, and we had one from, it was Rhodesia at that time, Zimbabwe.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was around people from that area. But it's just amazing to me how all of that stayed with me.
Yeah.
It affected, it affected the way I dress. And I still dress like an African woman.
Yeah.
I wrap my head. I got a lot of hair under here, but I was wrapping my head before I had a lot of hair.
Mm-hmm.
I just love the regality of it. I think that there is just something about women of color.
Yes.
I mean, some of the most stunning women that I have seen have been women of color. And when we know who we are, our presence, we step in and it's like the whole
Yeah.
now the party can start. We're here.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
We're here.
Yeah.
And that is one of those things. I was once told by someone who was Jewish that a part of their morning prayer, they thank God for making them Jewish. And I said, you know what? I would thank God for making me African.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, it's I think it's a really great thing. So what am I going to do in Botswana? A couple of things. In the religious science, it is not a religion in the sense of you have Catholics and Baptists, and it's
Mm-hmm.
a way of life, it's a philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
So we have people who are Jewish who are also religious science advocates and believers. And
Mm.
I can break it down to like three qualities that really describe it because it's hard to describe what is it to be a Baptist. I've come to the South and I see the Baptists.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we believe, the high points. there's only one God. So there is. So the devil and all of that, that's our creation in our minds. And I'm going to get back to our minds. So there's only one God. That God and I are inseparable.
Mm-hmm.
And the third one, how I choose to think creates my reality.
Mm-hmm.
And that one, how I choose to think, was something that was working in my life long before I learned it in the religious science experience. As a matter of fact, I was looking for religious science. You know, I was baptized in the Catholic Church. My mother is Catholic. My father is Lutheran. I went
Mm-hmm.
to the Anglican school. I practice Buddhism. I've practiced Islam. And with all of that, I realized God was with me everywhere.
Every time, yeah.
Everywhere. It didn't matter
Mhm.
what the dogma was, what the theology, God, the presence was with me always. And I
Mhm.
mentioned how in going through these countries in Africa that I came to realize that I was a child of the universe. And that was how I described myself,
Mhm.
a child of the universe. And
Mhm.
that recognition has been one of those things that has stirred and encouraged me to deal with my own adverse childhood experiences because I had them and I was ashamed and I hid it and I lied and I had been coached. So this is the way that I handled things. And I did, there's a course that's offered called the Forum.
Mhm.
And I did that. That was actually a gift from my children's father to me after we had divorced because I got married and I had daddy issues. Okay. Okay. I had serious, serious daddy male issues. And it wasn't compatible with marriage.
Yeah.
I didn't know it. But I had the experience there of a woman standing and just, it's an experience for the weekend where you pretty much explore what it means to be human
Mhm.
and how we think and how we create and what is it that you want for yourself.
Mhm.
And I I was unable to speak about my experience. And that's when you know that that experience has you in its grips. You
Yes.
cannot speak about it if you cannot name it, if you are left in sadness because of what happened. I mean, it's a great opportunity for healing. And the healing that is needed, you can go to a psychiatrist. I certainly, I majored in human development family study, HDFS at Cornell, psychology. So it
Mhm.
can do that. However, I was never led to do that. And
Yeah.
it was that this was something for me and God to work through.
Mhm.
And so I've known practically all of my life that I've had a call on my life. I ran from it. I said, when I was 15, I said, when I get old and I'm 40. And 15, 40 is old, okay?
I know. I know.
I'll do it then. And I kept pushing it off until it was like, yeah, I came to be 40. And the 40s were a great, that whole decade, a spiritual awakening and transformation swept
Mhm.
my life. It was like I was ready for it.
Mhm.
And when I said yes to the call, Spirit said, so what are you going to do about your relationship with your father?
Mhm.
And, we hadn't spoken in like 35 years. I'm leaving it. But you see, the things that we experience that crack us open, the light shines in there
Yeah.
or comes out of there and it lights the path. And it's like, now you've got to pay attention to this.
Mm-hmm.
It was like in the conversation with spirit, it was like, okay, so how can you show someone how to go, where to go if you've never been there?
Exactly.
Okay. And
Exactly.
and I said, you know what? I can't deal with that. And
Mm-hmm.
I talk to God like you and I are talking. Okay. I talk to him just like I said, I can't deal with that. He won't talk to me, all of those things. And it was like, I said, take it, you handle it. You handle it. And I went on my life. And one day I just had this overwhelming desire to call my father.
Mm.
So one of the things that I had learned is that when you are able to handle something, it's because it's yours. It's yours.
It's,
It's
it's
yours.
it's because
It
it's
is
what
yours. It
it's
is yours
yours.
to do. It is
Yeah.
yours to do. And
Yeah.
so I had something within me that desired to hear my father's voice,
Mm.
to find out how he was doing. I mean, it was a horrible relationship in every possible way that you could. And it also was something that was standing in the way of my move into ministry.
Mm.
Because I can't, I mean, when you're in integrity, you have to look at yourself.
Yes.
And some things come to us because we're projecting them and they're being reflected back to us. So my marriage failed. That was one of them. And I didn't even realize that that was a part of it until, um, we got divorced after 20 years. I'm like, okay, what's that all about?
Mm.
And I had a part of me that was sad.
Yeah.
You know,
But
I
it's
mean,
like a loss. When you have that happening, even if you initiated divorce, it's like a death.
it
It's,
is a
it's like
debt. Yeah, yeah,
and it's the end of one chapter in your life, even if it's very necessary, even if it were not a pleasant relationship, it's still
yeah,
your psyche and your spirit experience it as a death.
yeah, it is. And the other thing too is when I was living in New York, I stayed in New York for a number of years before I moved to Georgia. And I had a rough time. I changed career paths and I came to a new place and I had a divorce and my children were little. And I I took this course, this evaluation and talking about stress. So I was experiencing divorce, relocation, new job, and these were all the high-hitting stress points on the scale. Well, no
Yeah.
wonder I wasn't feeling so good
And
because
you had children. You had
yeah,
children.
yeah. And I had boys. I have boys. And my younger son especially was attached to his dad. So we would be going someplace and he would say, is dad going to be there? And I would say no, and I could see his face just drop. And
Mm.
it broke my heart. I think that it was really more the effect on the children. But on a happier note, he and I had been friends at Cornell. We got married, we had our sons, and even though we could not make it as a married couple, we remained friends. To this day, we are friends, and because of the children, specifically. But I also found that we get I was being prepared, really and truly, I was being prepared. It is now at this stage in my life that a lot of that stuff makes sense.
Yeah.
And I can see how it fit into the plan. At the time, I was like, I don't know, why is this? What am I supposed to do with that? Well, my dad eventually passed. And one of the things that I had said to Spirit is I want this to be worked out because I don't want my father or for me to pass and we have this thing unresolved.
Hmm.
Because I've seen people with unresolved issues that now they're separated by death, that they have to find a different way to bring clarity and forgiveness and peace over
Mhm.
that. And I did not want to have that experience. So that was the thing where I was saying about going for that weekend at the forum. There was a woman there. I was 40 at the time, and she was 62. And in her sharing, she, you know, snot, slut, all the whole bit, because
She was being authentic. Yeah.
yes, she was. And what she was really that sad about was that she could not trust men. Every man who had come into her mother's life, she was kind of exposed.
Mm.
And it started when she was 3. And here she is 62. And I said, "Oh my God, I would not want to be 62. And I'm still carrying this burden." And that was the big part of what made me open at the top, let
Yeah.
spirit handle it, take
Yeah.
my hands off the steering wheel,
Yeah.
and it worked out perfectly. So I called my father one day. He didn't know who I was. That's what he said. I told him who I was. He was quiet, and I'm like, okay, he gonna just have to. He was quiet. I was quiet, and he said, "Why are you calling me?" I said, "Because I think that we've been silent with each other far too long. I think that we need to bring peace and restoration. I think we need to do our work to create a healthy relationship between us."
Yeah.
And he said, "You want to have a relationship with me?" I said, "Yes, because I have a relationship with you. You're my father." We're not necessarily, I mean, because no relationship is a relationship.
That's
You
true.
cannot ever be out of relationship. You don't want to talk to them, that's a relationship. You don't like them, that's a relationship. And I didn't
That's
want to have that kind of relationship. And my father, who had been in the military, gone to Korea, brought back beetles and ants for us to eat as treats, all of that. He cried. My father broke out. I mean, he boo-hooed.
wow.
He just,
Wow.
my father is all West Indian, and all West Indian parents, they ain't wrong. And if you get punished for something and they're wrong, well, that's for what you're going to do. That'll be a future punishment for what you're going to do. They, they don't apologize. They do not apologize. And here was my father crying. And I was touched by that. I was,
Yeah.
you know,
But
years.
he had felt all those things within himself, and being a West Indian man and being a male, just period. How
Yep.
do you express your feelings, even when you've done things that you know may not have been in alignment with the highest version of you? It's like
Mhm.
admission. Men are meant to be
Men
stoic
had, oh God.
and strong and not reveal any feelings because
That's how they're socialized.
yeah, society has not given him permission. So for him to hear you and hear you from the heart center, it touched his heart, and the
Mhm.
walls came down. So he was
Yeah.
finally able to really, and the tears were basically asking you for forgiveness. He was
Yeah.
finally able to release all the things that he had been carrying around like a truck
Yeah.
on his shoulders,
Yep.
able to release and to be authentic, and you allowed him the space in the relationship to be authentic. That is
Yeah.
amazing.
Spirit was working with me. And
Yeah, yeah,
even I had to have my own forgiveness of myself,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
of what the thoughts that I had had. And so my father was in the Virgin Islands, and that was over the phone. And
Mm,
eventually, my parents are incredible people. I have to just give them credit. So my dad wanted to be an attorney, but he's got approaching 20 children. He's not going to be an attorney anytime soon. But that was a dream that he kept. So when I came to Cornell, my dad went to George Washington University, and we were in college at the same time, but I was a year ahead of him in college. My mother,
Oh, so your dad went back to school.
yes, he
Wow.
went off to college. Now, my mother gave birth to me when she was 14. So my mom and I are 14 years apart at this point. And she, in those days, if you got pregnant, you were kicked out of school. That was it. You're done. You don't get to come back, nothing. But my mother went, when I went to school, she went and got her GED. And then she went to college. And my mother became a nurse.
Wow.
And she worked as a nurse until she retired from that.
Mm.
But my dad, like I said, he got his undergraduate degree. And then he still had children at home. So he waited a number of years and then he went to law school at 62 and
Wow.
graduated at 65. And he practiced immigration law because that had been his life calling and passion. He practiced immigration law until he was about 75. And then he began to have problems with dementia. And he had to be brought up here where he came to Georgia. I have a sibling, I have two siblings here in Georgia. And so we were the largest concentration who could take him. And my sister took care of him. And he passed away. He was 2 months short of 90. And my father, he was highly intelligent. He had had a rough situation in his own upbringing, which also was what we saw. We just didn't understand that, it's like hurt people hurt other people.
Yeah.
That was my dad. So his mother had 14 live births, and who knows how many others didn't make it. But she died in childbirth with the 15th child.
Oh my goodness.
And he's the oldest one. And when she died, it turns out that who he thought his father was not really his father, but the man that we call our grandfather had married our grandmother, and my father was just one of the children. But when the wife died and he looked at how many mouths he had to feed, at my father's age, he got thrown out the house. Go fend for yourself, you're grown. So my father, he didn't finish high school. That's why, he had to go back and do all of those things. And so that was his dream, to become a lawyer. And I remember my father doing law correspondence courses, and I had to listen to them, and he would question me, and he wanted me to be an attorney. And it was like, I knew my calling was not to be an attorney. I knew that.
Yeah.
But he did that, and my mother did her thing. And those two people planted that seed in me where, don't tell me I can't do it, or don't tell me I'm this age or that age.
Yeah.
I loved what you said earlier because I'm experiencing the same thing. I have I'm retired. I have Medicaid, Medicare, and I get phone calls that just irritate the daylights out of me. Well, the state of Georgia has had a new law, and you can get death benefits.
Yeah.
In no time soon.
Yeah.
or you get these people who are with the insurance company. Have you fallen? Do you need a wheelchair? You got anything else to do?
Yeah. And those are spam calls. And when I see spam, I don't even pick up. I don't pick up.
Absolutely.
I
created, how you can leave a message. You'll call me back. I put me on your do not call list because you're being called by a computer. It's not even a person.
Yeah.
So it's just ridiculous. And yes, I do feel that I'm not seen as much. However, one of the things that I know happens when people see me and meet me is that I have had occasions where I've taken my driver's license out to show as proof of age. But I'm going to say this. August 24th is my birthday. I will be 74. And I am already planning for my 75th birthday because that's 3/4 of a century that I have been
Yes.
here. That's three
It's
quarters of a
amazing.
century that I have,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, been through, overcome, risen above, and that is really what my ministry is. You know, to get folks to recognize their spiritual magnificence. Yes,
Yes.
religion has been like, you know, you've got to be careful. You really do, because we are not worm food. And I'm even going to say that we were not created as sinners. You know,
Right.
God created us in its image and likeness. And that became something that changed my life, because I said, God does not age. God is eternal and infinite. And I am in the image and likeness, so I have access to those
To that energy.
qualities.
Exactly.
I have access to them. So
Exactly.
my thing, like you said, is aging is wonderful. You have to age to be here, but you don't
Yes.
have to age into decrepitude. And
Exactly.
there's a thing
Exactly.
I've said, no, I'm not doing. I dance. You know, at Cornell I did African dance.
Mm.
And I continued with dance, and I created a dance ministry at my center, because you know, you have a choir and you have the minister who does the talk. We don't call it a sermon, we call it a talk.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are viewed as portals for people to access spirit. Now, what about dance? There is beauty, there's alignment, there's strength, there is power, there
Yes.
is just a whole oneness with your body. You could feel it in your soul. And so
True.
I went about, and I was very fortunate, very blessed that the minister who was there had been on Broadway. So he understood, he got it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I said, this is what I want to do. And it was really wonderful. I never auditioned. I never even advertised. Now, frequently I would see people, and I see a dancer's body, and I say, okay, that lady dances, or that guy is a dancer. And I would ask, and I would invite, and then they would show up. We did Caribbean gospel. We did soca. We did
Mm-hmm.
Middle Eastern, because I had taken a Middle Eastern dance class and I loved it. And
Mm-hmm.
I used Sinead O'Connor's Guide Me God. And then to show how things were. So I'm here going, I really don't remember enough about Middle Eastern dance to teach it. One day, this woman comes into our center and she whips out a silk scarf, what they call them veils, and she's out there and she's dancing and she's waving it. And it turns out that she is a psychologist, and her therapy is dance, and she gets
Mm-hmm.
people to dance with the veils. And she ended up, I spoke to her, she ended up teaching us how to use the veils. And we
Mm-hmm.
used it in the dance. I mean, it's like, you know, they say deep answers deep. And
Yeah.
I have found that to be the case, because most of the times we get something and then we stay on the surface, and then stuff keeps coming back around. And usually when things are coming around like that, it means you need to go deep, because there's a song that says, I've been to every shore at every land, and I recognize there's no place for me to go but deep.
And within, and that's the thing.
And that's the depth within,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And that's the thing that I think your center is very good at doing. I'm going to wrap this up in a few, but I wanted to get your contact information. And I know that you are a very, very compassionate, wonderful being, spiritual being. And if people are having, and you're a minister, yeah. And so if people are having concerns and issues, they can contact you, visit your center, and then you also marry people, correct?
Yeah, I can. Yes.
You can marry people. So having heard this wonderful story from this beautiful being who does not look 70 anything, okay? What I would
It's
like
just a number.
what I would like to do is have you give them your contact information so that they can contact you. And so if they desire to see you as a private client or desire to come to the center to find out what the Center for Spiritual Living is all about. And this is the organization that Louise Hay was connected to.
Yes, it is.
know,
Yes, it
so
is. The healing part.
Yeah, for those of you who are familiar with Louise Hay, it used to be called religious science back in the day. And so it's been changed to the Center for Spiritual Living. So how can people, Nana, get in touch with you?
Well, I can, my email is probably the best. I would have to change my phone so that I can recognize that this incoming call that is not in my directory is not someone trying to sell me something.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna the Cruzana Idios at yahoo.com. And
spell it for them.
I will spell Cruzana. Cruzana Idios, that's my Spanish heritage. And so the people from my country are called Crucians. And in Spanish, a Crucian is a Cruzana. So that is spelled C, R as in Robert, U, Z as in zoo, A, N, A, Y, D as in David, IOS, Cruzana Idios at yahoo.com. And Cruzana Idios, it identifies me as a Crucian. And Spanish has male and female languages. So Cruzana versus Cruzano, a Crucian and God at yahoo.com. So that's my my email for my spiritual life. And yes, I do prayer work as a practitioner. I am a licensed practitioner. And what a practitioner does is hold the truth of who you are. So you can come to speak to me about whatever it is that is bothering you, and I will recognize that, but I am also going to speak into you the truth that I hold for you. And basically, who I am seeing before me is a wonderful, beautifully made child of God who is capable of all things. You may have just forgotten, or you may have been knocked off of your stride, but I am here to remind you and to hold that space and give it back to you so that you can do it for yourself. So yes, I speak with people. I have a practice where that's what I do, and we talk about all kinds of things: career, relationships, your growth. What do you want for yourself? Have a session with me. Have a session with me. I will work with you on that. And also, I do visioning. So visioning is Michael Beckwith is really big on visioning. Dr. Barbara King here in town, she visioned for Hillside.
Yes.
16 people got together in her living room and they prayed and they put it all in Spirit's hand, and Spirit did the downloads, and she saw and she worked that vision until you have the big circle, the chapel in the round is what it was called. I went to Hillside. That's where I found out about New Thought Christianity. And it was exactly right for me. And when I got to the Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta, I walked it and I knew that this is where I belonged.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So if you have any concerns and troubles, please get in touch with Nana. What she can do is provide the type of counsel that you need as a client, or just, to go to their Center for Spiritual Living, because in some belief systems, they condemn you as a sinner and you feel worthless, you feel hopeless, you feel burdened. And a lot of people have left Christianity because that was how they felt. Yeah. They felt as though they were being judged. And with this new energy that's out there now, it's even more hyper vigilant in telling people they're not good enough. And we're not going to allow that into our consciousness, because we know that that is not true. If you're made in the image of the Most High God, how can you not be good enough? How can you be so damaged that you don't deserve any love from Spirit? That is not the true essence of who God is, the Creator is. So now it comes from the belief of seeing you as a whole individual, as a spiritual being made in the image of the Most High. So therefore, she told you her beautiful story, her journey, which has some ups and downs, but it lets you know that she can relate to you. She sees you as a whole person, and she would not judge you. So what I would like to do now, because we have to bring this to a close, is Nana, it has been such a pleasure. I learned things about you that I did not know, because I don't ask people a lot of questions about their backgrounds before I interview them. I like to be surprised. I can tell people.
I think you were.
Yeah, I like to be surprised because it brings a different kind of energy and excitement to the process. If you know everything, there's no spark, there's no enthusiasm. And what I do today, I sat back and listened quite a bit before.
Yes, I thought you were going to talk more, and I was like, oh, I need to talk. Okay. So,
No, I
yeah.
was allowing you to tell your story. And then, so now I'm interjecting because I desire to have people hear your story, because I was led by spirit to do that. I can be more interactive with other people, but you had a lot that you desired to share, and the ancestors desired to have it happen like that. So I pushed the ego aside as the host and allow the person in front of me to share his.
Well, I say thank you. I say thank you. I'm so thankful and appreciative. And I wanted to share one last thing about the ancestors, because
Okay. In the interest of time, can we do it in 1 minute?
yes, my son died for 12 minutes, and the room was filled with far more people than should be in the emergency room, in the operating room. And it was the ancestors who came in to let him know, you have to come back. And so he celebrates 2 birthdays. He's born in February, but this happened in November, because it was the ancestors basically. And I've had their presence with me all of my life, and I've been aware of it. So I'm glad that he's aware of it too.
That's beautiful. So what is the lasting statement that you would like to leave with everyone?
I'm gonna quote it from the Bible. Be transformed by the renewal of your mind. The mind is a wonderful, wonderful gift that we have. And
Yes.
it actually can be the chalkboard. It is a chalkboard, because you have to see things twice in your mind, and then it can be projected outside. If you can't imagine it, you can't see it in your mind, it won't happen. So
That's beautiful. So
thank you.
I haven't said that. We thank you so much, Nana.
Thank
It's been
you.
our pleasure.
Thank you.
And this has been so amazing. I encourage anyone, because there are people who need to talk to someone and you can't talk to your family for whatever reason, or don't desire to share your story with people whom you know because you think you will be judged. So please get in touch with Nana.
Yes, my conversations are confidential.
Yes.
Okay, me and you, that's it.
Yes, and she's licensed. She's a licensed practitioner and a minister. So she holds her vows to be very, very sacred.
Yes.
And she has the utmost respect for everyone. We've had conversations, and I've just have felt that I've gotten fed after talking with her. And that's very, very, very important to me. If I'm talking to someone and not getting fed, I feel depleted. With her, it was just amazing. And I told her that I desired to have her tell her story.
Yes.
So
Yes.
please get in touch with her.
Yes.
She's giving you her contact information. You're going to see information underneath the video.
Okay.
And join us during the chat so that she can answer more questions for you. And just connect. That's what we're about, okay?
Yes.
So
Connection, absolutely.
Yeah,
and we're one. We're one, so we are connected to each other. Even people that we have difficulty with, we're connected to each other. Yes.
That's very, very true.
Yes.
So thank you everyone for joining us. And please go to our YouTube channel, Gray, Gray, Lives on the Rise. Click like and subscribe. And also, here it is, Gray Lives on the Rise, and go to the website, my website, Oyinde Enterprises, OYIN, like in Nana, DE, Enterprises, ENTERPRISES.com. And click on Great Lives on the Rise and click on all the other things. Jamila, since we have a lot of offerings on the website. So thank you for joining.
Thank you. I can hardly wait for my t-shirt to get here.
Oh, yeah. You're going to be featured on our platform once it gets it because you're going to take a picture.
Yes. Yes, I am.
Okay. All right, everyone. So thank you so much and namaste.
Namaste.
And well.
Yes.
Till next time, beloveds. Enjoy.
Enjoy.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Great Lives on the Rise, being brought to you by Jamila Sense, which is the product line of Oyinde Enterprises. Jamila Sense is a 100% natural aromatherapy line that heals the mind, body, and soul. This episode of Great Lives on the Rise was intended to uplift you, to inspire you, and to motivate you. Please tell all of your friends, family members, and anyone you know who's 50 plus, who's living a vibrant life and interested in doing more and enjoying life even to its fullest. So thank you, and please subscribe, like, and comment on this video and all our videos. Thank you, and until next time, until our next podcast, namaste and be well.